are a pilot of a drone, you constantly like see people dying. You realize that every sort of 15 minutes, someone dies on the front line. If you want peace, you have to prepare for war. Few weeks of the war, I was enthusiastic as I can to make this country a better place. So for me, it was like, ça m'a paru évident. De rejoindre les combats.
Il a 21 ans, mais le 6 février 2022, Vadim fêtait ses 18 ans et 15 jours plus tard, l'armée russe envahissait son pays. Aujourd'hui, donc, il en a 21. Vous allez voir, on lui en donne 10 de plus en maturité. Et ça pour une raison simple, c'est qu'il a vécu 3 ans de guerre, 3 ans en première ligne, comme pilote de drone kamikaze. Et à côté de ça, c'est assez dingue, il réalise des films sur sa vie dans les tranchées. Mais avant, merci, c'est grâce à votre soutien que Quartier Libre peut faire ce type de rencontres hors normes. Si c'est votre premier épisode, bienvenue. Je suis le capitaine Bro, officier de Légion étrangère. Et dans ce podcast, je discute avec des leaders civils et militaires de tout métier, tout grade, toute nationalité. Alors c'est parti pour ce Quartier Libre avec Vadim, soldat de l'Ukraine.
Quartier Libre.
Vadim, hello.
Bonjour.
How are you? Tu parles un petit peu français?
Je viens juste de commencer d'apprendre le français.
Ouais.
J'adore ce lingua. Oui, j'ai commencé d'apprendre le français 3 mois. 3 mois ago.
Bah, merci beaucoup pour faire cet effort, ça plaira à notre public. So we can switch in English now?
Et je peux parler quelque chose en français.
Ouais.
Alors, comme tu dis, la Russie a attaqué l'Ukraine 2 semaines après que j'ai fêté mes 18 ans.
Ouais.
Je rejoindre le combat immédiatement après. J'ai travaillé comme différentes zones d'opération, en particulier en Bakhmut, en Robotyne. J'ai travaillé comme pilote de drone kamikaze et j'ai donné beaucoup de lectures et conférences en Ukraine.
Ouais. Bah écoute, merci beaucoup, c'est très très fort quand même, 3 mois de français et pouvoir enchaîner comme ça, t'es très bon. How are you, man?
I'm good. So I just came to Paris, so it's my deuxième fois à Paris. So yeah, first time was basically I went to vacation, so Ukrainian soldiers basically allowed to go for a vacation abroad. Like if you're like direct commander, like platoon signs your papers, then you're fine to go. So yeah, so people who are like volunteers, etc., people who have some trust in their units, they're allowed to go to vacation abroad. So I went to such a vacation like in February this year, 2025. And just after I got here, Trump said that, you know, Europe is alone, you should mind your own security, blah, blah, blah. And of course, like all my like sort of journalist friends started like, hey, can you please comment on this, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't like a vacation. So it wasn't a vacation. I wasn't even planning that it would be a vacation. It neither wasn't. So now I kind of keep that in mind, that it won't be like a proper vacation, so I won't like get any rest in Europe, because it's completely different when you're in a state of active war, and especially when you are a pilot of a drone, you constantly like see people dying. You realize that every sort of 15 minutes, someone dies on the front line, you know, protecting like us, so we can like sit here and do something, or Ukrainian like back front, so we can do something there. And etc. etc. So for me, you know, I kind of realized that we live on a huge, like, sand, sand clock, how it's called, you know.
Le sablier
Le sablier, oui.
En français, oui.
But we don't have sort of grains of sand in this clock. We have sort of people lives in this clock, like Ukrainian soldiers' lives. And this is kind of idea that forces me to be here, to spend 2 weeks of vacation that I have in Europe, reading lectures, like meeting with people and trying to share my experience as drone pilot and to share my sort of view on Ukraine right now.
It must be crazy to leave the front, leave your country at wars, and discovering Paris at peace. Like, what is most shocking to you?
Well, the biggest shock I had so first time I went abroad, it was to New York. It was crazy, you know, I was part of some sort of like veterans group who went to advocate some stuff in US, etc., etc. So I was like wearing uniform and everything. And I just got from the front line, and 1 week forward, I'm sitting like in some sort of like bar in United States, in New York, like in Brooklyn, and
You
there's
feel like disconnected.
yeah, exactly. And there's guys my age, like, you know, 20 years old
Yeah.
guys sitting there and, you know, like having like a beer and cheering for their like basketball team or whatever they play there. You know, and I'm just sitting and I'm realizing I'm one age with them. I'm the same age. But what sort of different life experience we had last 3 years? It's crazy.
Look, let me ask you a question. You said that there is one guy who dies every 20 minutes in Ukraine right now, like against
Day to day,
Russia.
but in average.
How are you brothers?
Well, part of my co-équipiers are alive, part are not. So, you know, I shot a film. So basically, as a director, I shot. Overall, I did 2 films during this war. One as a director, one as a producer. So as a director, I did My Morning Routine, very sort of offbeat short film, 3-minute long short film. And as a producer, I did together with Jason Bellini, my good friend from The Scripts, from American TV channel, like a net of TV channels. We did Moses Video's film. It's a film about my friend who died during Kursk operation, and this film was nominated an Emmy, like the biggest.
Congratulations.
The biggest award, film award, like a TV award in the world. It was really cool. So it was like a finalist in top 5 films, and it was really a good feeling, you know, that I kind of got and privilege and opportunity to do this film and to make really good sort of memory of this guy, because it's a beautiful guy, like crazy and mec génial guy.
Look, I saw your movie. I think in this video we'll show shots of it. But let me talk about this a little later.
Sure.
Going back on this difference between worlds. I understand you went to New York. You came to Paris. You yourself, you said in a previous interview, the first Russian rocket that hits your country opens a portal.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if you would ask me a week ago, before the start of the war, I would say no, like everything will be fine, blah blah blah. Well, I kind of thought that there might be some escalation or something, but only like in Donbas area, etc. So I was like completely unprepared for this. Even though like few days before the war, I was randomly like given an interview to a guy during one of the meetings, rallies in Kyiv. So I was a political activist also. Yeah, and I told that, you know, if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. I told there, and it was kind of good phrase.
What was the first thing that changed?
Well, I don't know. First few weeks of the war, I was very enthusiastic, and like, because I was like a political activist. So for me, like, making your country a better place wasn't like something like, yeah, like patriotism, blah blah blah. It was some sort of a daily job, kind of like you organize rallies, you do something like as a political activist, blah blah blah. So I kind of had that notion that, okay, I love this country, I want to work as much as I can to make this country a better place. So for me, it was like, ça m'a paru évident de rejoindre des combats. So yeah, it was kind of obvious. But, you know, the lesson I learned like first half a year of the war is that there is no like either higher ups, either like big smart guy, either like politicians, either whoever normal civilian people think there are to solve out all their problems. There's no people like this, that we kind of, you know, the enthusiastic kind of part of the army, let's put it this way. We kind of have to be more enthusiastic, and we have to take responsibility for new stuff that we will do in this army. And my whole story is about this, about like some sort of enthusiasm in the army, and sometimes like breaking procedures that there were from like Soviet times army, or like some standard military procedures to achieve results, to save your people, to do more than you should do according to papers.
Well, this sense of innovation was key in the first resistance of Ukraine in the beginning of the war.
No, not really, because well, first half a year we wasn't like fighting with drones. You know, we was fighting with. My first position in the army is like staff sergeant of mortar, like mortar crew. So basically, like my first weapon was a weapon of First World War time. So yes, and only while working on this, so I opened like a manual, like Soviet time manual, how to shoot like a mortar, blah blah blah, like a book. And then was like an instruction how to mount it on a horse. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm doing something wrong in my like newly jellied military career, you know. But yeah, so
And then you became a drone pilot.
well, it wasn't like a reason to become. I became drone pilot at some moment. So I like started a fundraiser on Twitter for a drone because I was really interested in drones. Like I was aware that such a thing exists, and I had this concept that we can correct our own mortar's fire. Well, because you know how the chain of command works.
Oui.
You know, like you have to report to your commander, he to someone, blah blah blah, and it goes to commander of the battalion or like tactical point something. I don't know how you call it here, and he corrects artillery. He has the drones, blah blah blah. But my first idea was like, why the hell do we need this guy? If I have
You want to correct your own.
if I have a drone, we have like mortar, I can find my own targets, or we can get a target from our HQ, and we can correct our own like fire, and it will be like 10 times faster.
Yeah, shorten the loop of feedback,
exactly.
correction.
It's extremely small because I was at the same time correcting like left to right. I was like calculating the like the scope thing, like -5 plus 10, blah blah blah, and we was like adjusting it at the same time, and it was like between a shell lands and we send the next corrected one. It was like a minute or a minute and a half, like the quickest hand on the wild east of Ukraine.
And so you were deployed 8 times on the front line?
Yeah, it was different deployments. So half a year in Bakhmut, it may be like, almost a year, like nine months in Bakhmut. So it's around like 3 deployments.
Just for those who don't know, but Bakhmut is probably the bloodiest battle since the Second World War or something like this. It's like 20,000 casualty for the Russians, I think, in Bakhmut. Just for Wagner, I think.
No,
I mean, I've read this online, but the account is difficult to assess, I guess.
Yeah, of course, it's hard to count, but I think even more. Bakhmut, I really like Bakhmut because I was still, I had a lot of energy, because it was the first year of the war.
What was it like?
Well, I spent like almost half a year in infantry, so as a mortarman, so I wasn't like in direct like combats, like direct fire engagements. But I had only one in infantry. Like I just saw like a Russian guy like 100 meters around, and I just it's an enemy. It's an enemy. First time seeing an enemy, and I just shot like a half of mag there, and that's it. I don't think I even got something, but just for it to count, like a real soldier in a real war, not with those drones and stuff. So yeah, rest of the time I worked like on
because
remote.
The drones, you don't feel like the real war.
It's a joke. Obviously, it's a real war, but you know what I mean. Like,
but I mean, it's
war as a
through
battlefield, like as a like you go there, like kill everyone with a gun, and etc. etc. And real war is like hurry up and wait, like 90% of the time. So yeah.
Yeah. Like like the rest of the army.
No, it's worse. Like I can't imagine myself serving like civilian in like peaceful time army. I can't imagine doing this.
Interesting.
The worst part of this war for me was like on the back front when I was sitting in some freaking like forest, and as a military you're not allowed just to go somewhere, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Most of the time you just spend waiting.
Exactly. And I was just sitting there in the forest. Yeah, I was like reading like book a day. Like I was writing a lot of stuff, blah blah blah. But still, I was like, can I go like to the city and I don't know, like do a lecture, like share my experience, do something? Can we do like training, blah blah blah? Like you're a soul, sit here and do nothing. Like
wait, so your first deployment in Bakhmut, you were in the infantry, and when did you move to flying drones?
So I moved to flying drones basically in the infantry, but I was like correcting my own mortar. But so I was at the same time like fire team leader of this mortar and like guy with drone correcting this mortar. But later I moved to like only drones, and it's much harder job for me because when you're shooting a mortar, you just shot. And you're just waiting for a command to shoot, and you like have nothing to do and just read books or like dig trenches, whatever you do. So you have more sort of rest kind of time. It's not real rest, but you know what I mean, just sitting and do nothing. But as a drone pilot, you're constantly busy. You know what I mean? You're like, you have 3 days on the back front, 3 days on a position, 3 days on the back front. You're like going and checking the maps, getting information,
Maybe
speaking
prepping
with
for-
people. You're prepping. Then 3 days you're constantly working, even if nothing is happening, you're monitoring it. So it's not like a mortarman when you have a target, you shoot a target, you're okay. Here you go. It's constant work as a drone pilot, so it's
So
much harder.
how does it work? Like you're positioned in a trenchy, for example, and then you're with your drone, you fly around and looking for a target.
Well, a lot of ways. So first of all, it can be correcting. It can be looking for a group, for example. It can be like anything. So most of the time, like I'll hurry up and wait, just look in some perimeter for movement, for something, because like it's more of a defense war last time. So it's mostly like sitting down and watching for some things. It's on reconnaissance drone. The kamikaze drones is a bit different because you're like closer to mortar in a way because you're like working only when you have a target. So
Then you come back from the front and then you're redeployed. Like how does this work? Like the renewal of troops at the front. Like can you have? I mean, like when you're not in the front line. What do you do? Like, are you with your family? Like, what's your
well, it's
day
different.
to
So
day?
there are like rotation and there are like kind of smaller rotation on the front line. So basically, as a drone pilot, you work like N days, like 3, 5, 10, whatever. Now it's bigger scale, now bigger amount days. And then kind of the same amount of time you spend like on the back front, like 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers away from the front line. You're preparing drone, you're getting some rest, blah, blah, blah. Then there are rotation when the whole like battalion or brigade is being like put to the back front, and then like 90% of the time you just sit in some stupid forest and do nothing, and that's kind of a way to do it. So yeah.
I don't want to over emotionalize this,
okay.
but I must say, like, I'm very surprised at how casual you talk about about all this. Like, did you? Do you think, like, how did war change your look at all of this, like at violence, at death, at what you're assigned to do?
Well, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. So first, okay, let's.
You know what I mean? Like
know,
from a position of
Yeah, okay,
I think our viewers who are French, who live in a peaceful country and stuff, like
yeah.
what you talk about is very deep stuff.
Okay,
And
PT. So first, I think if I wouldn't be like, if I won't like write on the front line, like write stuff like journals, some essays, blah blah blah, stuff that I was doing before as a director, like mostly writing scripts, I wouldn't be as good in terms of mental health.
you use writing as
exactly.
a catharsis.
It's a huge thing for me, like using writing as a way to deal with all the shit that you work with. Yeah, so I was like constantly writing something, reading books. So this is the first thing. Second thing, my primary motivation to go to Frontline was sort of to get more life experience as a director. Because as a director, your sort of mission, is to have some real life experience and to be a prism, to show the world through this prism to different people. So for me, like going to the war, so there are different layers of motivation, but going to war is like a way to get a lot of great experience. Not great, it can be a shit experience, but still it's experience. And if you like reflect on it, if you like live through it, etc., if you're like a good psychologist at the same time, you'll be fine, and you'll find a lot of stuff for yourself as a creative being.
So for you, writing is a way to
shooting.
put away the pressure, to understand what's going on.
More for reflecting stuff, It's like, I can compare it to, like a stove. Like, the stove is like, the more wood you're throwing in, the quicker it burns, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Interesting.
on the front line. So kind of you can put it this way: like life gives you a lot of this sort of big piles of those wood, and if you have like really great this sort of fire, you just throw it in and it burns and it's okay. So yeah, creativity is a big thing.
So this is what drove you. I mentioned this in the introduction, but before you went to the war, you were a film director.
Yeah.
And then, as you just said, like even in the front light, you kept on writing. And then you decided to create a film. We'll show a bit in this podcast. The one that I thought striking was the one you made about the morning routine.
Yeah, it's a funny.
Can you explain us a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 21, and that's what and I watched like a lot of morning routine videos on like Western
Yeah,
YouTube,
like the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you also do. Okay, interesting. So, and it's like the videos when they show you idealized kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like wake up at 6 a.m. Like I drink.
Taking a cold bath.
Yeah, taking a cold
Doing
bath.
push-ups, 100 push-ups at 6 a.m.
Meditating and blah 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 and etc. etc. And I was watching like stuff like this, and at some moments, well, when I was like younger, and it's a moment like a video like this was shown in my recommendation when I was on the front line, and I was like, it's so funny would be to record like a voiceover like in those videos.
It is extremely funny, and then again, like for viewers watching us, I find a lot of generosity in being a fighter, being in the first line, and still trying to make some sense and some humor in what you go through.
Yeah, well, it's my job as a director, to realize like what's going through. It's like being a therapist to zeitgeist, this sort of spirit of time, etc. So, yeah, it's like creativity helps a lot. So,
but it does, and since you're a film director, I allow myself this reference. It make me think of that movie. I don't know if you know. It's Vals with Bashir from an Israeli director. He's basically. You haven't seen this. So in this movie. He talks about war with Lebanon, if I remember correctly, and himself, he was not in the front line. He was a photographer, I think, and so he lived the war through a screen, like through his camera, a little bit like maybe, as you say, through your FPV. And anyway, he says that. It's about the post-traumatic syndrome, and he says that he did suffer from this, although he was fighting in his homeland and through this screen as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but
makes sense. There's a really good book of Susan Sontag, portrayal of suffering through pictures, something like this. So it's basically a war book, really good one on perceiving the war through media. It's a really interesting one, and also a topic that I'm really interested in because it's not a accurate portrait of war in media usually.
So what made you say that this war is different?
Everything is different. We just redefined, I think, everything that there was about the war. But now we are so focused on drones and stuff because that's what we are going through. And I don't think the war will be over in the next any feasible time because obviously it makes no sense for Russia to stop at this moment. But I mean,
what makes you say that?
Why would I? If I would be Putin, I would not stop before Berlin at least. Why would he stop? Basically?
How do you read the state of Ukraine society right now? Like considering how war weigh on it, do you still feel trust, confidence, strength? What's the mood of the country?
Could have been bad. Could have been worse. At the same time, it could have been better. That's okay.
And how's the spirit at the front line?
People are tired. Like I told, the worst thing for me is polarization because there are people who are fighting for 3 years, and at the same time, there are people who don't really care what's going on, etc. So, for me, this is the big problem. But Overall, it's okay. Like, it sucks that we like failed I mean, as a country, I wasn't like working on it, like mobilization policy, because it's a hard political decision, and like
Yeah.
you politicians was like waiting till the last moment to like get
course.
enlisting like draft board law, and of course it was too late. It's stupid, but otherwise, I think a lot of stuff like snowballed from there, because it adds to polarization. Like draft board is the last guys in this sort of, draft board is the last guys in, like, it's a huge system. It's a huge like problematic system and blah blah blah. And like draft board, they are the last one to blame. They're like a scapegoat, and they start like packing people in this freaking like buses and doing this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Because they have like a list of like amount of people that they need to mobilize, and of course it polarizes even more, and it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. But and I'm glad that now like they don't do it. But there was like a short period of time where it was, well, it's a still small percentage, but you get that like through media it's like
Yes, it goes viral.
1 or
and
2%, yeah, might be like guys in like few months period of time. My opinion, I don't have really numbers in my head, but they might be like thrown in a bus and etc. etc. But most of the people, no, they just got the like in a phone, like they get a notification, they go, they enlist, and blah blah. So it's okay, like 99% of the time. But 1% is enough for like pro-Russian media to like
of course.
do a shitstorm out of it.
You yourself, when you were 18, you did receive a notification on your phone, and
There
then
wasn't the app to the phone. I was fighting with a freaking draft board 3 months, so they take me because I was hearing the same thing over and over, like, oh, I have son your age, I won't let you go to the front line, blah blah blah. And they knew that I was going to 93rd Brigade, which is one of the like the most like like legendary, and at the same time like
the deadliest.
battle, not deadliest, but like they're like sent at the like hardest point. It wasn't deadliest, by the way. There was like pretty good ratio of like safe
Survival.
survival. Yeah. So yeah. So I was on the contrary, like I was fighting draft board for them to get me back in 2022, and a lot of people were, because there was like a huge lines.
Going back on something you said you feel that the war will last. Can you explain? Well, let's hope not. But what the feeling in the West right now is that it might come to an end soon. And what you just said is the opposite. You feel that it's not.
That are like 50% created by Russian propaganda, and I understand why they would do it.
Yeah.
Okay, like why do you need support Ukraine? Like it will be over soon. But like I ask all the time for people to give me one good reason why Russia should stop.
Yeah, no, I agree with this.
A good reason. So
well, it's moving very fast on this front.
yeah,
We'll see how it turns
escalation.
out.
I'm the biggest like make love not war guy. My favorite genre of music is like American folk music. Like I'm the biggest anti-war guy. I know whole like lyrics of Pete Seeger album. Like it's
in your movie there's a moment when you are in a bunker or whatever and you're listening to Bob Marley.
Yeah. Like I'm the biggest guy, like make love not war, but there's like a reality, I can't afford myself like to get in this like, oh, everything is okay.
You said something in a previous interview. You said, and I quote, yeah. You see, I have like a little, and I quote. You said, Afghanistan, Chechnya, Georgia, Crimea, Ukraine. History is trying to teach you a lesson.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean by that? And then you said Russia won't stop. It can't live without the war.
Because the whole story of humanity, empire needs an external enemy. War in Russia is now what holds the society as a glue. If there won't be war, Russia will collapse from inside. Like Russia will not stop war. Can you imagine what is like building the whole war economy? The guy goes on the front line, he gets his salary, he spends his salary, he pays taxes from the salary, his wife gets blah, blah, blah. So it's like you can't just put a huge train
You can't shut that
on
down,
on the downhill to like push this train. It will be going faster and faster and faster and faster like each minute. and then at some moment it's huge, like 200 tons train, you know, and at some moment you can, okay, now stop. It doesn't work. Like war economy doesn't work like this. And you can't just stop it. And it's what's going this is what was going on with all this like countries that that you quoted from an interview. And this is what is going on now. Like unpunished crime will be repeated. Russia not only is not punished for this war, they will be like, how to say, like gratified for it. Because like if US will try really hard to stop this war, Russia, like they will have to put something on the table. Yeah, okay, now we lift up the sanctions, blah blah blah. So Russia like comes to another country. For example, like in 90s, they came to Afghanistan, they killed like tons of people. Georgia, Ukraine.
I was deployed in Georgia.
Really? So you know better than me. I was like, how much? I was like 4 at the moment. Yeah, so.
I'm not so old, and it was such a long time ago, but it was just after the invasion, and and the scenario was just exactly the same in Ukraine. They invaded the north of Georgia.
And now they come to Ukraine, they like start the biggest war since World War II, like completely. There's no like casus belli, like it's humorous, like they're just showing off their balls, like we can do this. Russia is acting as an international gopnik. Gopnik is like a word, Ukrainian word that describes like a guy who beats people on the street to like steal their money or something. Like, you know, it's like it's like this. If you won't like punch him into the face, he will beat you down. This is the same thing, and so. Like in last 30 years, Russia wasn't really punished for any of its wars, and now it's getting not only not punished but also like gratified for the war of Ukraine.
What is next for you? Like, will you be reassigned to the front line? Have you moved to another specialty now?
Now I work like half of the time, or like half of the time on the front line, half of the time I work in. Capital on more sort of defense projects. So I'm like doing some project management in defense stuff. I'm helping to make like courses, like military courses, etc., etc.
And for drone pilot training as well.
For drone trainings, but not private, for all sorts of training. So I work with Victory Drones. It's the biggest training organization in Ukraine. This is basically the team that started the whole FPV thing. Back in 2014, and now they scaled that in to 2023. So basically, they created a first official like military FPV official drone school like in the world. There wasn't such a thing in any military, but so I work with them. It's a brilliant company. It's the foundries of this team of this project. Maria Berlinska, she's hilarious. She's one of the most respected person in this country for me personally. And it's an honor to work with her. So basically,
I wanted to know a little more about what you lived through in Bakhmut. Again, for those who don't know that name, it's a city, and it's the name of I think the greatest battle in this war of Ukraine, and probably the deadliest since Second World War in Europe. What was it like? Like what did you do there?
So basically, at first, like I told, I was like a mortarman. Then I started the whole thing with drones, and then last deuxième moitié of the year, I was working as a drone pilot. So I was correct in artillery. I was, the thing about working as a drone pilot, that you see everything like that's going on, and it's sometimes it sucks, especially like during like counteroffensive, it sucked, but. In Bakhmut, so the reason why I liked this campaign, so Bakhmut was like the sort of the most like, how to say it, productive sort of year on the front line. First of all, because I was still working only on tactical level, and I still do, but now I work also on the defense, and it's much harder for me. So for me, frontline now is a way to rest. Like, I go to frontline to get some rest, like to sit with a remote controller. You have like 1 kilometer zone of responsibility. You just sit there. You just, fly a drone. You have like really clear tasks. Like
So you mean the mental weight?
exactly. It's a huge mental weight.
It's much clearer when you are on the front line.
Yeah, because when I'm not on the front line, I'm like, okay, I need to use like every sort of minute of time that I have to make the life of the soldier easier. To assemble a team for a new drone project, to make the training easier, better, blah 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 blah. All this stuff.
But this is an assignment from the army as well, or this is on your private time?
Kind of secondment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about your drones, and you don't talk about the drones of the enemy.
Pretty much the same. Like it's not a huge difference. Yeah,
No, what I mean is you talk about the mental weight of being in the front line, but
the risk of dying.
you just don't think about it.
No, of course, death is like downside of working like on front line, but
Is it in your mind?
well, I just created a sort of really good like mental mechanism to fight with the fear of death. Like not to fight, but to suppress it enough so you don't care. Like it's three main things like this, and that's help you really. That's help you a lot when you're working on the front line. It's easier for me mentally to fight with the fear of death than to fight with the fear of not a fear, but the feeling of not doing like enough constantly while in Kiev. Because in Kiev,
very
I'm like,
interesting.
okay, every second of my life I need to dedicate to making like the life of the soldier there easier. And then when I'm this soldier, I'm like, okay, now everyone else have to think about how to make my life easier, etc. No, of course I'm
get
joking,
it.
but you get
No,
there.
but I mean, again, I can't relate
And
to.
so the important thing here, I spent around like half a year, maybe more, working in this sort of mixed, maybe 6 or 7 months for now, working this sort of mixed kind of environment, part of the time on the front line, part of the time in the city, blah, blah. So, like I spent, if you will just take the time since 24th February till now, like I spent like 70% on the front line. I'm more adapted to the front line in a way, like not adapted in a like social way, etc., but I'm just more happy there. I'm more relaxed. I know what to do. I know the tasks. I'm more happy on the front line. Let's put it this way.
Yeah,
In Kiev, I'm more effective because obviously, if I create for example, like if I create a course or I assemble a team for a really great training program or new technological thing that I can come up with and start providing in the army, of course it's a bigger impact. It's definitely a bigger impact than I will be just sitting with a remote controller. But at the same time, am I happy doing this? Well, kind of, but I'm happy on the front line, because yes, it's less of an impact, but I'm happier there because that it's you. Then this is there's the whole this border, like Russia and stuff, and you all the free world that I know, like Europe, US, Europe and US is basically countries with culture of which I grew up with. It was even more than Ukraine because I speak English since I'm young, etc. So, I grew up watching American films and European YouTube videos, etc. So for me, when you're on the front line, you have this feeling that okay, I'm here protecting the whole free world against that border in front of me. You're on the point that separates the border from free world, and it's a great feeling.
You seem very sure of the everyday mission.
Yeah.
Of the sense that you put in your life, and this makes you very happy. Right. At once. In the war, there's a lot of craziness and tragedy and unfairness. Is this something you experience as well, or
well,
for you?
Yeah, it's not 100% fun time. It's 90% is.
I mean, I'm trying. I get what you say. Yeah. I'm trying to get into people to understand what it's like.
Well, sometimes it sucks, but it's closer to how our brain designed to live. You're living in a sort of smaller tribe. You have constant existential danger that unites people. You have the sense of community that you wouldn't have in any other place on earth, and etc. I'm talking about this. This is what makes a person happy. I think that on the front line, it's the closest you can get to real happiness.
Interesting.
What I experienced. It doesn't mean that it's like a great experience. Usually, experience that brings you happiness is a shitty experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still, but it's my point.
And also-
okay, I'm not talking for anyone else. I'm talking just about.
Of course,
but I'm
of
not
course.
like a typical example, like of a soldier or etc.
I mean, I had
So-
I used to command a commando group, and I remember a discussion with one of my men who told me that he was happier in the what we call exterior operation in France, so like in Africa or wherever. Yeah, he was saying that. He was saying that he felt happier, especially because of this sense of brotherhood that you have in the front line, and which you miss when you're back in civilian world. At least in France, at peacetime, like you don't get this sense
Ukraine
that
is pretty much
everyone is united.
Exactly, and I mean, human brain is designed to live like in small tribes. Like up to 100 people is the amount of people that you can
Yeah, I've seen
have
this.
to know, you know, and then you can like
You can't recognize more
yeah,
than
you can
100.
recognize.
Yeah.
So it's freaking like platoon, you know, or a company. I confused those like hundreds of people. You got what I mean? Of course, and the human brain is happy out of community. And the community builds when there is like an sort of external enemy of this community or something. And death is the biggest sort of external thing that can unite a community from my perspective. Because what we experienced at the beginning of the war, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah. You know that after like 9/11 for a year or for like two, there was like I can get wrong the numbers, but like 70 to 50% less crime rate.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because where people feel the death, they want to unite against it.
Yeah, and you focus on essential things.
Yes,
other
yes.
people.
And people who got out of like hottest places on the front line, they miss this experience, especially because community. So yeah, this is also the thing that I'm experiencing. I'm not telling this is like a good thing or bad.
I get it. I get it. Also, there's something you mentioned some philosophy earlier. You said on a previous discussion, you said that you don't project yourself much into the future. What I mean by this is usually when you're 21, I mean, when I was 21, I was thinking a lot about, you know, what I will do later on, like which job, and I will project myself a lot. And you said something striking to me earlier, saying that you rarely plan more ahead than the afternoon.
Well, on the position, totally. So horizon of planning is also an interesting thing. Like on the front line on the position, yeah, you kind of have a plan on this day tops. You know, when you're like on the back front, like 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers away, you kind of 3 days or a week maybe, like this sort
But
of
never a year.
planning horizon. When you're in Kiev, maybe it's like few months or something. You know. Here, for example, like I told, previous time when I was in France, I had a meeting in Sciences Po. Or no, I'm sorry, we was doing some sort of also like podcast date or something like this.
At Sciences Po?
At Sciences Po, we.
Okay.
And I was just sitting on the like terrace on this like cafe. They have really great cafe. I was just watching like students like walking around, like discussing some students' things and etc. etc. And this was the first time in the whole war that I thought that, you know, one day I might need to get like an education or something.
Well, you're getting one, but
Of course,
much
you know,
different.
like
Yeah.
formal one. You know, and this was the first time when I had a horizon of planning like long enough to even have a thought about like education
Interesting.
in Europe. Like, you know, like second time when I got like on abroad. You know, yeah. So I understand that here, like. At the end of this week, maybe first week in Paris, I will have like much bigger attention span, like a year. Maybe I will start thinking, well, okay, what if I will go and get like few years? Okay, like, okay, what if the war freezes? Like I told, don't think it stopped, but it might freeze for some time. Okay. Well, what will I do? Okay, education. Maybe I should, I don't know, like speak with some universities, like how it works,
Maybe
etc.
study overseas.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I told, it was the first time I thought about, okay, let's take like 5 years horizon of planning. Yeah, okay. So how do I see it? The war might freeze at some moment, yes. For like maybe a year, maybe two, or so. I don't, I don't see this in foreseen future, like in a year or in a two, but it might happen like later. Okay. So, the war might freeze for some amount of time, and I'm like, okay, what can I spend for this amount of time to be more useful and to bring something to the table for Ukrainian defense when the next sort of
Because you don't believe in peace.
well, I believe that peace is a great thing. I just don't see any sort of presuppositions for it here. Like give me one good reason for Russia to stop. Yeah, so so yes, and if there will be some sort of like freeze of the lines for some time,
Then you might consider another life.
What can I do? What can I do for this time? So when the war starts over, I can be like as much as useful as I can. So one of the options that was in my head is like, okay, to get some Western like good education and like defense, like management, something like this. Maybe in French.
I think Sciences Po would suit you well. It's a great school.
To get some like good education, to like do some work, researches on defense and stuff, and etc. to like connect really well with like Western defense sort of social bubble, to partager mon expérience, etc. And then like if or when the war starts again, like I have all this sort of connection and I can go back and bring more stuff to the table, more to be more useful than I would just, do something in Ukraine this period. I don't know. It's just a...
I mean, you know what, like from the whole meeting we just had in the conversation, what's most striking is for me, so I'm 33 right now, and thinking about myself when I was 21, like I was just, thinking about partying and going through my terms.
I mean, it's
and well, I mean, I can see that there is a whole life for you after this, and I'm really looking forward to see you maybe like getting that education you're talking about, and like
but the thing
doing
is,
something completely
I
different.
don't want a military career.
Interesting. Why not?
I don't know what to do in military during peacetime. What do you
Excellent.
train?
Maybe you don't like the authority and...
No, I don't. Like, the thing is, it's easier to change the military when you're not in military. Because when you're in military, you're part of this hierarchy chain, and you can't if you have a brilliant idea, you can't go directly to a general. But if you're a civilian defense guy, you can. You know what I mean? So, So, I don't think. Yes,
You know what? I will claim my right to silence.
Of course.
I understood that you can't really project yourself into the future, but one thing is for sure, you're gonna continue on writing and making films. Do you have projects on this for the near future?
I shot 40 hours of GoPro footage since Bakhmut. There's a lot of really great footage. So at some moment
And this has not been published?
Most of it, no, but I edited morning routine film out of this footage.
So, morning routine was in Bakhmut?
90% of the footage was
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. There are few shots like this shot on the sky with a drone. It was on Robotin direction during counteroffensive, but I think pretty much everything else was in Bakhmut.
Do you... this initiative to make movies in the front line, is it what does it come from? Is it about making art in the trenches? Is it about making? Is it a question of influence, of communication?
I don't agree with portrayal of the war, neither by Ukrainians, most of the Ukrainian directors and filmmakers, neither by Western.
What do you mean?
Because it's obviously. So, okay, let's start from the beginning. So, there are like film festivals. It's like big institutions like Cannes, like Oscar, blah, 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 blah. And most of the directors, like, of course, and Ukrainian directors also, they kind of target those sort of festivals. And festivals only take like sad shit.
Yeah.
It's not like you can really be
Like make people cry
with
and
festivals with a like
like a fun thing.
fun
yeah.
thing, like optimistic film about the war, etc., etc. So our Ukrainian like art, sort of social bubble, you know, is heavily influenced by like Western demand for sad shit, like for oh everyone is crying, everything is so bad. But like you know, war is not like always crying. No, there are like really dark and really sad stuff,
But there's also
but there everyone is
light
joking the
and
shit out of
laughter.
stuff, you know, like it's hard for me. So I don't agree with portrayal of the war, and for me to create a morning routine was the biggest motivation, because I wanted to like show this juxtaposing of my generation, that we like grew up watching these perfect videos, and then we kind of work in this reality, and how I sort of, you know, use jokes and compensatory mechanism from this civilian life into this war life. This is a topic that interests me. A topic like, oh, everyone dies and everything is bad. It's not an accurate portrayal of the war, because 90% of the time you're just waiting, you know. I don't know what can I shoot about the war except for the comedy right now. It's at some moment, I tell this a lot, like at some moment we were sitting like in Bakhmut, when Bakhmut was almost encircled, like it was like almost encircled, so there was like 0 roads that we can like take to get out of the city. We are sitting with me, like few my team, and we are like, I'm showing this map and like, okay guys, do you realize we're like in a freaking like battle royale game? Like, you know, like the area shrinks constantly because like Russia was having like successful assaults, and like we are in the middle of this area. We need to find like electricity resources and stuff. You know, like we are in the middle of this like battle royale thing. This is kind
It
of
makes me think of. Have you seen this series, Band of Brothers?
no, unfortunately.
It's about a platoon during a Second World War and the campaign, like the American GIs in France, and someone comes up to the platoon leaders and say, "We are surrounded," and then the platoon leader goes like, "We are paratroopers, kid. We're supposed to be surrounded."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean it's 90% dark humor and stuff. So I just don't like the portrayal of the war, portrayal of this war overall, because it's so heavily influenced by Western demand for
By an agenda, I get it. Like it makes sense.
I get why it works. I get why if like filmmaking is your business, why you would do said films, because it's easier to sell it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean,
I understand why it works this way. Do I? Like
It's not necessarily cynic. It must be also like some artistic stance. Anyway, like I don't want to criticize them in any way, but in any case, yourself, if you were to make a movie about the war, it would be a comedy.
Now, yes. Later,
Interesting.
I don't know what it would be. But, you know, also like my GoPro footage, it's like full of really like dark humor and like like absurdity humor and etc. and etc. and etc. And like, you know, it's so my main motivation here. I'm waiting for a moment when in Ukraine everyone will stop like getting me to film festivals, because they always like on the Q&A I always start this thing, you know, everything is bad, we all gonna die, kind of thing, every time, you know.
Well, you know what? Myself, I'm really looking forward to see your next movie, your next work, and yeah, will you be putting them online, like on YouTube?
Of course.
Okay, you must let me know. What's your YouTube profile name?
Adamov VD.
Vadim Adamov?
AMOV So.
You know what? I'll put it on the description of this video, and I'm again really looking forward to see your next film. I wish you good luck, a lot of strength and courage. Thank you so much for taking the time, stopping by, having this very open heart conversation. To be honest, like I didn't expect at all like to have this type of conversation with you. Well, I hope it was okay for you too, and I'm sure we will continue later on.
It's more like speaking with military, you know, because it's easier to explain some stuff that's harder to civilians when you're starting like speaking about death or something. Oh no, it's so bad and everything. I get why it is like this, but still. So yeah, thank you a lot, and I really hope that some stuff that I said here will be heard by people, especially people in like defense industry, and because it's a great place you have here, like France, Europe, everything. I really like it, and I'm really worried about defense of Europe. And
Is there like a final message you want to deliver?
I think the final message here is that you kind of have to mind your own security, and you have to put effort in it, and you have to get as much brilliant people in your defense, as much like intellectuals in your defense industry, and not just closing into like social bubble of like military defense or stuff like this. So yeah, this is kind of my final message for today.
Well, it's a very relevant message. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Again, very honored to have met you.
Thank you.
And then, let's go and continue this conversation.
Okay, let's go.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Si vous êtes toujours avec nous, déjà, merci beaucoup. Je pense qu'il y a d'autres vidéos qui peuvent vous intéresser, notamment une, si je me souviens, avec qui est en ligne, le général Tassel, issu de la brigade renseignement, qui parle de cette guerre hybride qui nous est menée en permanence. Je trouve que ça répond à certains sujets que Vadim a exposés sur le fait qu'on est préparé, on travaille déjà, et des hommes et des femmes, notamment dans le renseignement, sont tous les jours sur le front. Ça vous intéressera peut-être, je le mets en description. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt.
Armée de terre, peux-tu le faire? Pour le savoir, s'engager.fr. L'armée de terre recrute 16 000 soldats et 5 000 réservistes par an et forme à plus de 100 métiers.